back to the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast. On today's very special episode, I have a serial entrepreneur. In fact, I have 3 businesses in one person. I have Rudy Perez, the owner of Sanitize 360 Commercial Cleaning Services, the CryoVantage Recovery, and the Vantage Mindset. Rudy, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Wonderful. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm happy to have you in the seat, man.
Oh, thank you so much. Glory be to God, for you, for all the listeners,
Well, thank you.
I like to, start every day, every conversation, everything, giving grace to him. So
I love that. That's a unique start to a conversation that hasn't happened on the show before. So first time for all. I love awesome. That. And I was really excited to get you on the program because it's very, very rare that I have anybody who's either got, 1, maybe 2 businesses dabbling, but let alone somebody who's 3 in and rolling strong, man. Yeah. So I want to highlight all of them. So we'll work our way through each of your businesses here. Just for a quick glimpse for the listeners, though. Haven't had a chance to meet you yet, or future client down the road kind of thing to meet you.
Sure.
I am so curious, where does the drive come from and where is the passion to run multitudes of business like this, but they're all uniquely different? We'll get into each of them here in just a moment.
Yeah, the passion comes from, honestly, it could be a long story and I could date it back
That's all fine, man.
How I grew up. I guess we could start there. So I was born and raised in Stockton, California.
Okay.
My parents were 18 years old when they had me. They both finished with their GED, so they didn't finish high school. They went to continuation programs after.
Sure.
And my life growing up was hostile. I was in a very rough environment, one of those cities like Oakland or Compton that you hear about in California. It was super harsh, so the environment was rough. My dad, I love him, but raging alcoholic my entire life. Showed me everything about how to not treat a woman. So I think that I do good in that category because I know exactly what to not do.
Sometimes those are the more powerful teaching lessons of what not to do. So phenomenal to turn something that can often meld and turn people into something hateful and something into spite and all that. Really astonishing that you were able to kind of flip that script and let it lift you up rather than drag you back down.
Yeah. And so, just kind of like how you said right there, my whole life has been about challenges, obstacles, environments, things that should hold me back. But those are all the reasons of why I do push so hard. To answer your first question, I'm a big believer. I heard this for the first time from Tony Robbins. Don't know if I started there, but he says life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Yep.
And so to me, everything that I've been through, from that environment to growing up with, not the best of examples for parents, didn't really have great resources or, knew anybody in my family that was doing business things.
Sure.
To getting out here, getting myself through college, losing a brother, having to get through that experience. It's all just happened for a reason. It's shaped me into who I am. And I ultimately, as we get more into this conversation, Vantage is about me working with people, showing them like, hey, you can become whoever you want to be. And your past experiences can actually strengthen the fact that can happen, based on how you perceive it. So.
Yeah, I love that, man. And my condolences for losing a loved one along the way here. That's never an easy process, let alone sometimes that's a cause for people to get out of what they were doing, to go play a little more safe. So I'm happy that you're here. It led you to a great place, and we're happen to intersect at this point in time here. So I love that. Now, we're going to walk through each of your businesses, but you started off with the one I actually wanted to start with, which was the Vantage Mindset. First off, just a general overview for you. This is your little softball question. What is it that it does for the clients, and how can it help them?
Yeah, so ultimately, Vantage is about, think about, the phrase vantage point. Ultimately, that's the point to where you're going to be able to see the furthest to navigate, to have the best views, especially if you want to talk about mentally, physically, or spiritually. Being at the peak, we're going to always perform our best. We're going to feel our best. We're going to have relationships and conversate our best ways. And so Vantage is just that. It's I work with people in 3 different ways, and it's all depending on the client, how they want to come in. The smallest package I offer is it's only $50 a month. It's a subscription into my online community of courses. I have multiple courses that I've created myself, teaching people how to do service-based businesses, online businesses, and then I also have about 20 additional courses that cover different things from email marketing to ads to how to utilize ChatGPT the best And
which that one's a tough topic right now. Just to utilize AI and Chat GPT and things like that. That's a tough one right now. So that's really helpful that you're offering some insights.
Yeah. So I have that, and it's a mindset first organization and community online. But having the resources and the tools there also is helpful. And so that's typically for the person who wants to learn more. They know that they have more in them. They want to learn a new skill, or just level up. It could be an employee who wants to level up in the workplace, or it can be an entrepreneur who's just looking to grow and scale a little more. And then from there, the second package is, if you want a little more than that, then I offer for $100 a month, the same access, but you also get weekly coaching calls with me to jump on and be mentored, ask any questions you want, wherever you're at in your life or business. And then the third level is a little bit more of the high ticket stuff. That's going to be the one-on-one work.
Sure.
Quarterly masterminds type of stuff with other like-minded individuals. So yeah, that's my business model as far as Vantage Mindset goes.
Like that.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's just to transform people, to show them you can become whoever you want to be. And I've done it. And so I want to show you how to do it too.
Yeah, I love that. And I really respect that it's coming from a place of, hey, I've done this. It's coming from real knowledge, not just, guys, I had all these luxuries and it rolled right out this red carpet for me and I walked right through it. And then all of a sudden I'm telling you how you could do it.
Yeah.
No, it's coming from a real place and it's raw, and I love where it does come from and stems from. Now, I was on your website, and now I'll highlight each website for each of your businesses here. Now, we, of course, are talking about thevantagemindset.com, and I'd seen you at a 30-day Vantage test. I wanted to pick your brain on something about that, because I see that you also offer it for free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it's got some really potentially eye-opening results. What was some of the intentionality to choose to offer something like that for free? Just so
no one has an excuse of why you can't do it,
Yeah, that's great.
If you don't have money, well, there you are, and then, that's why I have different tiers of packaging, because ultimately I know I can add value to somebody's life.
Yeah.
And that 30-day Vantage test is extremely powerful if it's utilized correctly.
Yeah. Now, if I'm somebody on and listening to the show and I go 30-day little free test, okay, I'm going to go look that up. I type it in. What does it do for me to set me on that path to kind of start that process? Whether, hey, the next step is come talk to you to help decipher some of that, or if it's, hey, you know what, I've got a good idea. How do I get started and what it's telling me?
Yeah, so ultimately what the 30-day Vantage test is about is rewiring your thought process. Ultimately, if you want to know about Rudy, what I offer, I'm going to teach you how to get better control of your thoughts. So ultimately, our thoughts is what leads us. Our thoughts are the reasons why we have all the things we have in life right now. Yep. We are just a product of all of our thoughts and choices up until this point of our life. And so it actually works in 3 different ways. For one, it takes 21 days to break a bad habit. And on top of that, it takes 28 days to form a new habit. And so there's the 30 days. I just rounded up 2 numbers.
Make life easier, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's that, but then there's also repetition.
Yeah.
One of the biggest points inside of that 30-day Vantage test is if you go throughout one of your days and you get stuck on autopilot mode, is what I call it, of getting back into your negative thoughts, that you usually have on a day of, oh, I'm not good enough because I don't work out today, or I don't love my body, or I don't love the results I'm getting in my business. You have to start the test all over. This is for you to train your subconscious mind to be more conscious about the thoughts that are coming to you, throughout the day.
Wow, that's actually really interesting too, to actually retrain the subconscious.
Yeah.
Honestly, daunting task ahead of you and your clients there, but man, the powerful and worthwhileness of it, if you can pull that off and successfully train that, man, that's some really powerful stuff you can help out with, especially business owners that, let's be real, that's always a negative thought in people's head of, hey, you're not going to make enough sales this month.
Or, think about it too from a perspective of marketing. If we're trying to come up with new marketing content, but we're in a bad state, having bad thoughts, we might not get that one idea that's just going to change the results from that marketing test, so.
Or you start pushing out things you're not happy with, and so your product's not getting reflected the way you want to, and it starts that bad spiral down. No.
And as a leader, our business is a reflection of us. Our employees are reflections of us and what we allow, and how we operate. And so I teach people a lot on leadership also, as well as thoughts.
I love that. And I think that correlates back to my next question here, because you have on your website, again, we're talking about the VantageMindset.com, is that you have a little clip on there that's or a little snippet that I snagged that says you have the kind of not the key necessarily, but you can help you unlock true happiness and balance with a combination of 3 specific areas. I'm not going to misrepresent them. Mm-hmm. I'd like for you to kind of tell us what those areas might be. And when we start that process with you and getting that one-on-one, or maybe jumping into those that low tier to start to kind of get a feel for it, how can these 3 areas and me combining these 3 areas, what's kind of that first step to get them to work together?
Yeah, sure. So to start with the 3 different areas, the first one is self. The relationship that you have with yourself is always the most important before anything else. The second area is the relationship that you have with others. And the reason why I have it like that is because in both your personal life and in your work life, you have relationships with other people. And the way that I teach people when I work on, especially on the one-on-one coaching, is I can teach you how to be the dominant thought energy inside of a conversation or inside of an environment, to where you're completely in control of your energy, how you want the conversation to go. If you start seeing the conversation go somewhere, well, this is where I teach consciousness. How do we redirect it? And we always lead with others. We're always serving others.
Sure.
I don't ask questions for you to know more about myself. I want to know more about you. And typically in a conversation with others, if you're focused on them more than you're focused on yourself, it's probably going to go good. Mm-hmm. And then the last area is the relationship that you have with your career or with your finances.
Interesting.
So what I've found throughout all the, I'd say, rigorous 10 years of study, is that it doesn't matter what level of success you have, even if it's in business, you're making all the money you want. Most people lead in one of those areas and lack in 2 other areas. So some people may talk to themselves really good, but they lack in the areas of they're not good with other people. They don't have, friends that they really can call best friends, or someone that they can go home to at the end of the night, or they lack in the business department. Like, oh, I love myself, I'm happy, everybody in my life is good, but they just can't figure it out in one of the other areas. So I work with people just to kind of see, hey, where are we at? And do you even know exactly where you're wanting to go? Because it's funny, most of us would say, yeah, we have an idea, but when I get to asking people questions, it's like they really have to think, and they don't really know exactly where they want to go. So now we're navigating through life kind of not knowing where we really even want to end up and where we want, because we're so focused on the day-to-day tasks.
Yeah.
So
it's easy to get lost in the day-to-day, especially when you're a little on the younger side of things too. You're like, I got plenty of years ahead and everything's fine. I'll take care of it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to wait till tomorrow. At least start the conversation to reimagine and rework some of those things in your life. I do love that they're built into 3, because I've always said 3 is kind of that weirdly magical number that everything that balances has 3 components.
Yeah.
And it's always 3. So I do love that those are major factors and major components that detail kind of the unusual. A lot of times, when somebody says, I'm going to help you improve, I'm going to help your business improve, they always go, I'm going to start with your metrics here or something like that, all these really, business detailed things. Yeah. Often overlooked is the self-reflection and, hey, how's your personal life going? Hey, how's your friends doing?
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of that goes by the wayside, especially for people who get lost in that day-to-day. They're not focused on that. They kind of just go, well, I'm worried about the work, or I'm worried about my home life. And like you had said, they kind of fall by the wayside on the 2 others. Yeah. So I love that. Love that we were able to pick your brain on some of those. And of course, you can check out the VantageMindset.com to get started with Rudy today, whether you're a team or an individual. Reach on out, start that conversation. Is that the easiest way to reach you, is go into the website?
Yeah, well, back to that. If you wanted to join the community of courses, or the one-on-one, not one-on-one, but the group coaching calls, that's going to be the VantageMinds.com.
VantageMinds.com.
VantageMinds.com. But yeah, other than that, reach me. Instagram, Facebook, direct messages are fine. If you wanted to link any of my contact information, like emails.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll all be in the description here below. So. But yes, we will definitely have ways for people to reach on out and get better themselves and to help further their own business along. It just makes sense. Now, I do want to kind of shift gears because, again, man of many talents. You got multiple businesses here. Now, from somebody hearing it, the Vantage Mindset, helping people, helping your body get better, helping your mind get better. Now we go to a cleaning company. It might be a little culture shock for some people. Be like, wait, whoa. This guy can actually help me, but now he can help my commercial space get better. Which, again, I love the diversity in what you do, because a lot of times if somebody does have multiple businesses, it's like, oh, this business ties directly into what I mainly do, right? These are all three very unique things. I love that about what you do and how you operate. Now, of course, you can check out all of your list of services for your cleaning company, Sanitize 360, at sanitize360.net. That's the numbers 360. But I did catch something on your website that was really stand out to me, and that was that you offer hospital-grade sanitization and cleaning. Now, my question for you. Now, of course, obviously mentioning that, people are like, oh, whoa, hey, he did what now? But my question for that now is, are businesses able to kind of customize like a little cleaning package with you so that they can still get that level of cleanliness, but maybe they just don't have a big enough space to utilize a full team kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We do everything from small one-off accounts, even if it was to come and clean out an office, just the space of this. All the way to big, huge projects that we do for government businesses and, the Army. Not necessarily the Army, but one of the branches. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it technically.
By all means, don't get yourself in any trouble.
Yeah, but yeah, and then the hospital grade thing too is, I'll just go real quick.
Please do, because I was going to pick your brain on that.
Cleaners. Yeah. One is just general cleaning, which those are the supplies you buy off the shelves at the stores. They're effective against some stuff, but not all stuff.
Right.
And then there's... I'm drawing a blank. But level 2 is just one more tier higher than that. Bigger list of kill stuff.
Sure. Kind of like those specialty cleaners that you can go like to a specific store to go find.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Typically, those are still more harsh chemicals to where you get up into the hospital grade. Now, this is the stuff they're killing off everything. What you would use in a hospital. But also the stuff that I use does just that on top of it's food contact safe. And you can spray it around your pets.
I was like, I didn't catch the food contact safe, but that's awesome.
It's also food contact safe. It's actually the main ingredient in the stuff I use is chlorine dioxide.
Okay.
Which is one of the main components that they used back when Hurricane Katrina hit. They used it to purify the water. And so it's a super strong cleaning agent, kind of like chlorine bleach. It just doesn't have the bleach chemical, harsh stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Make you smell it before you even touch the door. But no, I did want to mention that too, because I did notice on your website there that your company uses eco-friendly cleaning products you just alluded to. Now, I am curious, how do you get that level of hospital standard clean with eco-friendly products? Now, I don't mean any disrespect to any eco-friendly products by any standard. I love them, and I wish that they were more accepted. I just feel like some viewers kind of get stuck in that traditional, like, if I can't smell it burning the nose hairs off of me, it's not working right kind of thing, So I wonder how do you kind of navigate that in today's world?
Luckily, I haven't really had that happen too much. I do from time to time. When I started off just cleaning houses one by one by myself. Used to make my own cleaner that consisted of distilled water, alcohol, vinegar, and an essential oil. And to answer your question the short way, if there was ever a complaint, adding a little bit of essential oils will give a smell of clean, depending on the fragrance, and that's one way to solve that. But
absolutely,
ultimately, I got into this I wanted to be the most effective cleaning company, but also the safety of everybody else was at my mind, and I was just lucky enough to run into a product that offers both. So.
I do love that. That's kind of the passionate place where it comes. Now, that is kind of alluding to my next question here. After we've kind of covered what Sanitize 360 is and how you kind of operate, where did Sanitize 360 come from? Where was the passion for this? And obviously, you kind of just alluded, I was cleaning houses by myself.
Yeah.
Man, where was that first day you're like, man, I just got to do this?
Yeah, this is a funny story. I don't know that I would necessarily go as far as calling it a passion, but
sure.
I'll explain how I got into this business. I graduated college. Still didn't know what I wanted to do. I was living at my grandma's house in her basement, renting from her, and I was working as a waiter at a restaurant called Copal out in Lincoln.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they have one.
That's actually one,
the owner, we're actually very good friends now.
Oh, but got to get him on the show here.
Yeah, so I was working for her, making, I don't know, I was working back then, maybe $2,000 a month or something. But I was about, $30,000 in student loan debts, and I had another $15 to $20 in credit card debts. At the time, I was coming into entrepreneurship. I just wanted to do something. I was buying all these courses. Actually, at the time, got certified as a life coach for Tony Robbins under his program. I went to one of his conferences. Yeah, so I was just trying to absorb all of this self-development, invest in yourself, as they say. But I didn't have any capital, and so I couldn't go. I didn't want to try to go get a loan. I knew it wouldn't work. I didn't have good credit at the time. Didn't want to borrow money from anybody. And what I did know is at the time I wanted a mentor. Because I was like, I just want to speak to someone that can help me evolve. Self-development was still at the top of the list back then. But I did want to start my own business because ultimately I wanted to grow the Vantage Mindset business, which wasn't a thing at the time. I just knew ultimately I wanted to work with people. So I told myself, hey, I need to create a business of my own, grow it so I can show, hey, you actually have what it takes. Just call it $50,000 in debt. Took one of my paychecks, just went and grabbed some rags, spray bottle, bought a vacuum, mop heads and stuff, and just luckily, her name's Rebecca, the owner of Copal. She let me make little coupons to hand out to all of my clients.
Oh, cool.
And so, I just was doing a lot of organic marketing. But back to my mentor. The reason I brought him up is he's like, well, Bob Proctor was one of his mentors.
No kidding,
Bob Proctor's first business ever was a cleaning business. And then my mentor that I was talking to at the time, his first business, because of Bob, was also a cleaning business. I was like, well, let me just, go
let's just follow suit here.
Yeah, follow suit. Luckily, you landed perfectly that it didn't need a lot of capital to get started cleaning houses. So I started doing that. It wasn't going so well at first. I definitely had to keep working as a waiter. But I was real big into innovation. And so I was doing a lot of research. Well, come to find out, there's a service, which is where the name Sanitize comes from, Sanitize 360. There's a service you use a UOV fogger or an electrostatic sprayer. Mm-hmm. You use the hospital grade cleaning products and you spray it. It breaks down into these very small particles so you can sanitize an entire space top to bottom.
Gotcha.
I also, like I said, because it's hospital grade, it's very effective against flu, COVID, MRSA, H1N1, anything you could think of, salmonella. I ran into that, started offering that 3 months before COVID came out.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, so back in 2020, and that's kind of where everything just started going really well.
Man,
yeah.
That is one of those, looking back at it from 10,000 feet, man, you start 3 months later, or you start, 4 months later, you might have missed the ball there.
Yeah.
Man, stars align, comes together, you form up Sanitize 360 to build that capital to really pursue, obviously, the Vantage Mindset, which hadn't even become a reality yet, but that was the goal and that was the dream, and it is now fully enveloped, and you are living said dream. Got it up and running.
It wasn't that simple, though.
No, I made it seem pretty easy, just recapping all that real quick.
Well, to kind of just to run into it, so the success started coming. I got myself to a point to where I was needing to start taking on employees. 3 or 4, because I landed a bigger account, a hospital out in Lincoln. And that's the time when my brother got into his accident. And mind you, we're out here in Nebraska. This happened in California. So I had to learn how to leave my business behind, still have it operational and functional, and then also still try to attend to my brother out in California. And so that was just one of the biggest learning experiences to this point in my life, honestly. Learning how to deal with that situation. Like I said, I was barely coming into having employees, I couldn't just leave them behind. But, the thing is God is so great that he wouldn't give you anything you can't handle. And that was just proof for me.
Love that. Now, I am curious, just not to pry too deep into that and to just kind of maybe get a quick little snap for somebody. But if for any other entrepreneurs out there kind of in this listening, maybe find themselves in a similar space, the worst case kind of thing happens to them right when they're in that transition point as well. How did you keep a level head about it, and how'd you take that loss and still keep the focus that you needed to have for your business to succeed?
It's a very complex answer, but also extremely simple at the same time, and it all just boils down to faith. I had faith. I ran with God doesn't give you anything you can't handle, and everything happens for a reason. To make sense of that reasoning, at first, extremely difficult, but ultimately, I knew that I believe my brother's in a better place. That's my personal beliefs.
Absolutely.
Why would I be mad at that? And then also, I believe, God is so great that he would allow my brother to kind of be able to watch out for my family from above, or however you perceive it to be. It gave me another type of energy. Emotions are ultimately is just an energy, whether it's from losing a brother, whether it's from love, from having a kid, just whatever. It's all a sense of energy, kind of the Chinese talk about the qi.
Oh, yeah.
We have the ability to harness that energy and control where it's flowing to. I was already real big into self-development, and so this was a real life test for me. Losing my brother, it's the most energy I've ever felt in my life by far. It's almost uncontrollable. But going back to consciousness, well, I need to be conscious of what's going on right now. I need to be conscious of, if I waste a day, if I go get drunk and try to, let go of it, whatever. I definitely stayed away from alcohol more than ever during that time, specifically because I wanted to address this head on in the most coherent way as possible. You only get one chance to kind of do it right when these situations come, and I just didn't want to let it slip. I wanted to make my brother proud, and ultimately, just having the faith that it's all going to work out one way or another.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that it's from a place of heart and a place of passion, that able to bounce back and make something even better because you feel like you almost have the second pair of hands pushing you forward.
Yeah, exactly.
No, man, I love that. Now, of course, we've talked about your standards of cleanliness with Sanitize 360. I am a little curious how that process kind of starts. Let's say I asked you to come out so you can see the space and kind of give me a quote. We'll even use our office here for an example. You didn't get a full glimpse of it. We have offices that even sprawl back here. We'll give you a full tour here after we're done. But I am kind of curious, where does that process start and kind of look like from a client standpoint, to where if I'm coming to you and we're going to take a little tour of the space, are you kind of just charting out kind of square footage of the space, or is it more just, I got a good idea of which room and how much time it's going to take me for each?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
Square footage, it helps because, with the math, you can kind of narrow it down to what it could be around. But
sure,
you take this building, let's just call it 10,000 square feet, but you stack it up against an industrial plant at 10,000 square feet. It's going to be completely different types of cleaning,
Yeah.
So there's different aspects. Some of it is just, experience, just knowing how long cleans should take. But yeah, so I come, we do a walkthrough, we do a bid. We just get to understand each other, build relationships.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what I find in the cleaning industry is people hire cleaners that they don't have to deal with and don't have to put the extra stress into.
That makes sense.
It's funny in this business, if I don't hear from my client,
it's a good thing.
It's a good thing, kind of backwards, but
this is good news.
What we do is we come in, and if we're to agree on terms, we get started. I let you guys meet who the cleaners are going to be. We have a communication log up front that gets looked at by my cleaners at the start of every shift. So if they were to miss something for whatever reason, they're going to sign off that they addressed it right away, first thing the next day. You always, direct contact with me is a huge thing. I'm able to come out and do a walkthrough anytime. I like to do at least monthly check-ins with me and the client, just to make sure everybody's happy, everything.
Well, that's nice too.
See if we can, improve in any areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, what we try to do is just make it simpler and less of a headache for you guys, and make your guys' space feel clean.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of the big thing now. I think a lot of people, especially like COVID and like the years just trying to like get back to normal afterwards there, I think a lot of people are realizing that they weren't very happy with their cleaning services.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are like, I got to just feel things out. But I think that's always important to start with a conversation at the very least. Build a relationship with somebody before you sign a dotted line. Like the person across from me, that's Rudy Perez with Sanitize 360. Now, of course, don't want anybody to miss out on what you can offer. I encourage all of you listeners to go check out sanitize360.net. That's sanitize360.net. Rudy, is there anything you want to kind of promote or extend out that we didn't get a chance to kind of talk to or go into specifics here with Sanitize 360?
No, if there was just for me to say one last thing about Sanitize 360 is it's just I put a lot of effort into training and building teams, and I always want my employees to go and do bigger and better things ultimately. So I try to grow employees in that way.
Love it.
So just, you know what you're getting with Sanitize 360 is just people who are committed to doing what they're doing, who are also, getting trained and taught by me, self-development skills. And you just, like I said, we just try to make it an easier day for you guys. So
I love it. That's what it's all about, man. And I think that's such a unique kind of added benefit for your employees too. It's like, man, you got the mastermind behind the self-help and to help you get better in your own life as your boss for the cleaning company side of things. Like, man, you'd be a fool not to take at least a couple of things of information from you. Yeah. So I think that is a very cool added benefit for your employees there. Now, last but certainly not least was on my list. This one, I wanted to save this one for last because it's a very cool idea and I love it and I got to have you talk about it. It's the CryoVantage. Yeah. It's mobile cryotherapy for sports injuries and beyond. Now, God, where do I even start? I had too much. Like looking at this website, I'm like, there's too many things I have to ask about. But
Sure.
I have to start with the device itself. You have this cool little wand-like device that I would love for you to walk us through what that tool is and how does it work.
Yeah, so it's a cryotherapy gun. It pulls from a liquid CO2 tank.
Okay.
So it shoots out pressurized liquid CO2, so the air is dry. There's no moisture in the air. But essentially, let's say we're targeting your elbow. Your elbow is getting treated at negative 110 degrees. What basically happens is there's multiple benefits from it. Blood flow, cell repairs, inflammation, all these kind of things are getting help with. But what happens ultimately is when this cold hits the area of the body, your brain sends some type of signal down to that area to where it's like a shock mode, to where now it's going to start building up a defense against that cold to try to survive. Once the cold goes away, it goes back to feeling in a safe mode, but when it goes back, it's allowing all that blood flow and everything to regenerate better than it was originally. And so that's where the healing process comes in.
Gotcha. We're almost like tricking our mind to repair ourselves, so to speak.
Essentially. I mean, it's also very similar to just icing your elbow for 30 minutes, but I'm able to do it for you in 30 seconds.
Man, where were you in high school where I sprained ankles and was a horrible basketball player?
People have been getting incredible results from it.
I'm definitely gonna have to be checking this out for myself because old click clack of my ankle here, I can walk and click down the hallway.
And it's not just sports players too. It's everyday people. It's anybody that has an ache or a back pain. I like to golf a lot. My joints, even at a younger age.
Man, you don't think it's a lot of walking. You don't think it's too bad until you're in one of those courses with a lot of uneven and a lot of...
I just had a kid not too long ago, too, in October.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, thanks. And, just bending over to pick him up and holding him all day. I've done multiple things. But, yeah, from what you understand about the business, the way I have it set up now is targeted towards, recovery, injury repair, all that kind of good stuff. But ultimately, why I got into it, this third business was my wife and I planned to do it together originally before she got pregnant.
Sure.
Which now we're getting back into it. But there's actually 3 sides to this business. We focus on 2. I focus on the body repair.
Sure.
Like you're saying. What she uses the device for is called cryo slimming.
Interesting.
So you can do facials to where this device, what it essentially does is it freezes the fat cells and then they die off. So we're able to kill fat cells inside of the body. So whether you're working out, losing weight, this will help keep your skin tight. She works with women for cellulite, stubborn belly fat, arm, any part along the body that you want to tighten that skin up. This device is able to do that.
I love that.
So there's the aesthetics part as well as, the injury part of the business.
I love that. It's almost like you're telling your audience here, because I think the last I had checked, actually, and this is a little fairness to myself, it's been a few months I checked our statistics on who listens and all that kind of stuff. And the last I checked, our demographic was, I think, 58% female audience.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
So you might have just spoke to the crowd here of things to do to help feel better about yourself and feel good.
Frotox is a popular.
Frotox.
So it's essentially, women get Botox. Not just women. People get Botox. It's tighten the skin up. But there's a lot of chemicals, and those chemicals actually work their way towards the brain, ultimately. So with the Frotox, it's doing the same things topically to the skin, tightening it up, but it's just super clean. And
no chemicals going to your brain.
Staying with the eco-friendly stuff, organic.
Man.
I'm a very holistic person, so.
I love that. Does that come from somewhere particular? Is that just something, growing up and things that you got thrown at you, just like, man, I know there's better things. I know there's cleaner things.
Yeah, I think I'm just a product of somebody growing up in an environment, like I said, with parents, with a dad treating a woman a certain way, just knowing the things that I don't want in life.
Sure.
So we were fed bad everything, and so I just know that I didn't want that.
Preaching to the choir. It's like, hey, some days when you were offended, it was like mac and cheese. It was like the best thing you could cook and make.
Those frozen corn dogs.
Yeah.
So, just as I got older, my faith and spirituality just started growing a lot after college, specifically, and I just want to learn as much as that because the main point of life to me is to add value to other people.
Yeah.
And by me educating myself and actually doing stuff, I can actually tell people my truths, my experiences. So I don't like passing along information that I hear and then tell somebody if I haven't experienced it for myself. So I just try to have as many new experiences as possible.
Hey, life's all about new experiences, and that's part of the joy I love in networking. Mm-hmm. I'm not an Omaha native. I'm originally from the Sandhills here in Nebraska, which I'm from a town there's less, like, it's actually a village. Yeah. It's not even a town. It's a village, technically. And when I was there, it was like 115 for a population.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm from a very desolate, remote place. Mm-hmm. Hilariously enough, I still joke that is still probably some of the best places I could ever go back to.
Yeah.
Because they're so empty and it's so peaceful and so great. Yeah. But you learn so much when you have to kind of come from a lot of nothing and you have to move into certain things. And coming here to Omaha, I'm super fortunate. We're like, I think by the time people hear this will be about episode 75, I think we're talking. And that's 75 businesses here in Omaha that I don't know if I would have ever met, talked to, learned about, heard of if I was not in the networking scene at all, which is just crazy to me to think about because some of these businesses are phenomenal. Yeah. Some of the nonprofits I've met are amazing. Yeah. And it just shows how much we have here in Omaha and how prominent, being involved can really go for you. Yeah, so
I want to say that's a beautiful take, just sitting back, watching your body language, your energy come off as you're saying these beautiful words about these companies. It's, that's one of the points about this whole talk about Vantage, about everything is it's ultimately whatever perspective you choose,
I like that.
And so just because it came up to my mind real quick, I want to not leave the audience. I want to give the audience something real quick.
Please.
Every morning, this is a metaphor that I created. It just came to me. Every morning you get to wake up and brew yourself some tea. Mm-hmm. What tea stands for is first is your thoughts. And thoughts are always backed by emotions. And emotions are always followed by actions. And so first controlling your thoughts, you can then catch wind of your emotional state. And then when you're in a certain emotional state, you act differently. And so when you wake up each morning, catch wind of your thoughts and your emotional state, and then, start acting on it. So you can brew yourself up whatever tea you like. If you want some mad hot tea, go ahead, but it's up to you.
Let it cool off throughout the day, maybe. Yeah, I like that. That's awesome, man. Tea, I like that. I actually wrote that down. I'm sure the camera caught me on that one. But that's such a good mindset to have going in, especially waking up in the morning, because what's the first thing most people do when they wake up? I gotta shut the alarm off, I gotta get up, I'm gonna shower. Yep. It's nice to maybe just start and sit there for a minute instead of just going, just maybe think about, hey, what are we feeling today? Mm-hmm. What's going on? Yeah. That's a good self-reflective moment. I like that. Now, back into cryotherapy, because I wanted to touch back onto this for just a moment here. It has massive benefits. You've already talked about a lot of them. Mm-hmm. I'm curious for you and your business here, how much of a benefit or how much of an added benefit, I should ask, is it being mobile for these types of injuries or sports injuries that may happen and people can call you up to get some relief?
Yeah, super beneficial. Client wants me to be there during, a sports game for their team. I can be there watching something that goes down. I can service them right on the spot, or even right after the game. I can service them before they get in their cars to go home. So we can already start that healing process.
I love that.
And sometimes people are busy and they don't have time to go to a brick and mortar spot across town. And so I can go to them, catch them in between maybe two of their appointments, and keep it really quick. That was the entire, point of doing this business.
And I think it makes a lot of sense because, I think about it too. I'm like, you get people in our age groups and they're like, I'm going to go play some basketball with some buddies. And, well, you're not quite as athletic as you once were. And you might have rolled an ankle or something like that. And they might not be able to go anywhere because that's their driving foot. But to have you come to them, that's a really, really smart idea.
Yeah. And then not only that, but, let's take this business, for example.
Yeah.
I haven't done it personally yet, but I have known acquaintances with similar businesses that do it in other places. Getting offices to hire me to come in for an hour throughout the day.
That would be
for any of the employees to get service. Because if we're sitting down in our chairs, you're clicking your mouse a lot. A lot of these little movements start getting the joints going.
Yeah, and then not to mention, you get people that have bad posture no matter what. Like, you can't sit perfectly in a chair all day. As somebody who sits in a chair for 8 hours a day usually, you can't sit in the chair perfectly all day.
Yeah, I service lower backs more than anything else.
I think that's got to probably be a hot spot. Mm-hmm. But that is awesome. Offering that for offices for you to come into just a quick hour of the day. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm like, how cool if you're the boss, you go, hey, guys, this Friday, we're going to peel back a little bit early. We're going to leave about an hour, but I got Rudy coming in, and he's going to treat some of your pain spots here before you go.
Yep.
to me, I'm like, oh my, I'm starting off my weekend an hour early out of work, and I'm getting some back relief before I go on my little weekend. Sign me up for 6.
Yeah. And it works either way. I know the boss can pay for me to come in, just pay for the employees. It's like if you pay for a tank, you get about 20 sessions out of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I can treat about 20 different people, or just a percentage split. I always like to share. I don't ever do anything on my own. It's always a collaboration in business. In a transaction, it's a collaboration no matter what. So
I think that's wise for people to just clip there for a moment in their brain. Nothing happens by yourself. Mm-hmm. Business is a lot of collaboration. Yeah. And I love that. That's a free piece of advice there.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, of course, you had already brought this up. I just wanted to reiterate this. You don't have to be a Storm player. You don't have to be a Husker. You don't have to be the basketball athlete of the future. You can just be average Joe and still see some great benefits out of this cryotherapy and for everyday pain. So my question for you in that regard, if I am average Joe, how much does it really run me, or what's the best way to start that conversation to get you to come out, or maybe I meet you at a location that you're popping up to next to get a little relief?
Yeah. So typically, it's pretty inexpensive service. So just for a 30-second service, which is all it takes, because it's so cold, it's just $25. And then if I come to you, there's a service fee for time and travel. But if you're coming to me, or if you come to where I already am, it's just a $25 fee. And
that's nothing though.
It does wonders.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have subscription models too for people who want to get weekly services. I could save on the rate. You know how business is. The more you purchase, the better discounts and deals.
Absolutely. But, now we'll have all the contact details down for each of your businesses down here in the description. Now, is it the easiest to reach out to the website to kind of get some more questions answered for certain clients, to maybe reach out and kind of go that route, or is it easier to maybe email you or give you a call?
Good question. Honestly, probably either or. The latter.
I love it.
Yeah. I check my stuff every morning when I wake up. Try to check it occasionally through the day. Make sure all my notifications are coming straight towards me. So, yeah. I stay busy. Like I said, I love communicating with people. And so whether it's through text, email, calls, feel free to do whatever.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's something that people really should be capitalizing on, because it's a way quick and easy way to get some pain relief. Mm-hmm. So definitely check it out. Now, again, I only mentioned pricing because I wanted to, again, give you a little shout out here, because you're clearly listed on your prices. You don't do the whole the no prices facade and then I show up, and then when you show up, here's your $500 bill because here's all the fees and no, it ain't like that. And I just wanted to give you a shout out because there's a lot of businesses out there still trying to do business that way, and it doesn't quite work. It leaves good professionals in a bad light. I just wanted to highlight a good professional when I see it, and
thank you.
I am curious, what is the best way to book you? Is it just through the website?
Yeah, probably through the website.
Through the website's easiest.
To be most consistent,
Love it. Now, I am curious too. Since you are a serial entrepreneur, what would you say has been one of the hardest challenges you've had to overcome as a serial entrepreneur?
Delegating.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, everything has its challenges, especially when it's fresh. But ultimately, delegating and building a team. I think if you have the right people in place, everything becomes easy. But if you have the wrong people in place, everything gets 10 times harder. I'm pretty sure it was Dan Kennedy who wrote the book, and this for all the listeners, definitely listen to this book. But this is basically how I'm able to have multiple businesses. It's a book called Who Not How.
Who Not How.
Don't worry about how to do whatever challenge is in front of us. Think about who can get it done. So if it's your marketing, if it's your HR, if it's your books, you can't solve all the problems. We just don't have enough time in the day. But there is someone who would love to do that work for you if the compensation's right. Yeah. And if, I love to compensate people because, ultimately you do that, everybody's happy. You help pay somebody, which pays their family and their bills and their food. And also it helps me that I can get a system that is running great, not just for me, but for my clients as well. And so that book, that's been the hardest part of business for me, is just the delegation part. So Who Not How is where I learned how to solve those problems.
And, I think that's oftentimes associated with really great entrepreneurs is you have to let go of the reins. And why the hell would I do that? It's my baby. It's my thing. I get that. I think that is probably the hardest for entrepreneurs. But again, great way to look at that, and a great shout out to a great book to help maybe some future entrepreneurs guide themselves in a good way.
Yeah, I think it was Andrew Carnegie at the Steel Corporation back in the early 1900s. He didn't know anything about steel. Yeah. But he was the biggest name in the entire industry.
Yep.
He just knew who to hire.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, and again, those are still generational names we talk about to this day. So, I mean, he must have done something right. Now, of course, not everything in business is dark paths and stormy roads. You get a lot of cool things out of things and all these individual unique businesses that you have. I'm kind of curious, which might be a major pride point for each of your businesses thus far?
Yeah, for the Vantage Mindset, honestly, there's not one specific thing. It's just any time that I get to see that someone has made growth, especially comes a point where you're seeing people where they realize, like, man, I have so much more control over life than I ever thought that I did have. When they feel limited to their environment or the experiences dictate how they're feeling inside. I teach the opposite. And once you see that transition in people, that's honestly for the Vantage side, that's the most beautiful part that I get prideful about.
See that light bulb flame. It's like, yes, finally.
What I tell people is I don't teach you how to be successful right now. I teach you how to be successful forever. As long as you have faith and you have a mind that, hey, life happens for me, you'll never be unsuccessful. You'll never go broke, whether that be, mentally, health-wise. If we're just doing the things we need to, I could teach you how to be successful forever. So that's the biggest pride part from Vantage. From Sanitize 360, I would say the cleaning industry is a very challenging industry because I don't always get the best people to pick from for employees.
Sure.
I mean, not a lot of people want to go and clean toilets and, do that stuff.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that like manual labor anymore. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
So honestly, just being able to scale to a level that I have and continue to grow, I guess I'd say that's what I'm most prideful about.
Absolutely.
I've probably hired, trained, and fired over 100 employees now. And so, yeah, just working with people.
Still keeping going, man.
It's been a blessing because, having an online business is one thing, but when you have a service-based business with... Right now, I think I probably have about 30 employees.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets tough,
Yeah.
But that's the biggest prideful thing there. And then the CryoVantage, we're still on the newer side.
Sure.
But if I had to say anything, I guess I feel prideful that I'm pretty sure I'm the first, if not one of the first in the area to offer this type of service. I mean, we have traditional cryotherapy.
I was like, I don't think I've seen a mobile cryo.
Yeah, but not a mobile. So I guess that'd be my answer.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like
innovation. Like I said, marketing and innovation are the two biggest things to run businesses.
Yeah.
And I say that because innovation is... There's another book. I love books. Yeah, I read.
No, I didn't pick anything.
Called the Blue Ocean Strategy. Or Red Ocean Strategy. I forgot which one. But basically, everybody's in business, competing in this blue pool. When we want to get over to the red, there is no competition. It's just creation. We're just here to create, not compete.
I like that.
So the Blue Ocean Strategy, I'm pretty sure is what it's called.
I like that. We'll have to put that in, do a little homework for editor Matt if he's listening.
Yeah.
Put a little picture of the book that we're talking about right there. He didn't. Yeah. I'm just teasing. I always like to mess with Matt. Now, moving into our questions, before we get a little too deeper into my last little question, I'd like to ask, before we glance past and go past through it, is there anything else about the CryoVantage that we maybe glossed by and you wanted to reiterate or talk about, or maybe just something that's coming up you wanted to talk about?
No, I would say give it to yourself to experience this type of service one time. I mean, It's extremely unique. I promise you will feel benefit from the first session. Most likely you'll be wanting more, but give it to yourself to at least experience this once.
Yeah, treat yourself. Yeah. You owe it to yourself. Just treat yourself once. Now, back into it, what is something that you would like listeners to know about, more about, when it either comes to each of your businesses or maybe just about the entrepreneurial industry in general?
Yeah. I guess I'd want people to know more about me and the entrepreneurial journey for them.
Yeah.
I had it very rough, I had to work hard for everything that I got, but I'm just here to be living testament that if you stay faithful, if you continue to invest in yourself and and your emotional state and your thought processes, you can achieve anything you want. I truly believe if God puts a vision of yourself in your mind of someone successful, that's his way of saying to you, you can get it, but you have to be willing to put in the work, you know? And so the way that I teach people is, if you want to be this end goal version of yourself, there's the book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. You know that one?
Yep.
I just had this thought the other day. I want to write a book that has the same title, but cross out now and put the end. So
Power of the End.
Power of the End. And what I mean by that is, let's say we want to be this end version of ourselves, and we're still, us right now. Well, you have to start becoming this person and making decisions like that end version of yourself if you want to become that person. Mm-hmm. So like me in 10 years, we would have the same day, start off our day the same way, same resources, but 10 years from now, that version of me is going to have a totally different outcome of the end of the day, because he's going to make decisions, he's going to be more confident, and ultimately it's really just, in our own minds, being able to harness the power to do that.
Yeah, I've always been a preacher of your brain is much more powerful than people give it credit for. You can make yourself sick. You can make yourself hungry. Yep. You can make yourself not hungry. You can make yourself a lot of things. Why not successful?
Yeah.
That's a great understanding of it. And I love that is where your business kind of comes from the passionate side of things. It's like, you can, man. Yeah. Like, I'll show you. I did it. Like, it is a cool journey that is not only powerful, but where it's going to help people build and lead, I think is outstanding. Yeah. So Rudy, before we dive into our personal questions here on the day, I like to ask if there's anything else about any of your business or about you than yourself that you want listeners to know about before we get starting to wrap up the show here.
No, I'll just say this. Whether it be me or anybody else, if you are a person who is looking to level up in your life, in your business, whatever, just get a coach or get a mentor. I have multiple ones myself. Every greatest athlete had a coach, and I'm sure that their coaches had their own personal coaches or mentors or therapists, if you may. Just get someone that is going to help you become the person you want to become.
I like that.
Doing it on your own is too hard, and it takes too much time, and we'll never get time back. So.
Yep. I as much as I always hear these advices of, man, you got to get the good people around you. The comedy side of me can't turn off, and I always think back to The Legend of Zelda. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this, and just have a friend with you. It's a much easier path. But that's just my little radio brain at work here. Sure. But I do love the fact that you are able to shine a huge light on building people, building yourself, where you've come from into now, and where you're going from now. I think it's all really good information, and it's really powerful information that people need to sit down and have a conversation with you. Again, all of your contact right here in the description of this episode. We are distinctly having the pleasure of sitting down with Rudy Perez, of course, serial entrepreneur. He owns Sanitize 360. He owns the CryoVantage, and let's not forget the Vantage Mindset. Now, Rudy, I call it the dessert of the show because it's usually the last thing people remember. Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. Now, any big plans for 2025 that you either want to try to accomplish, or maybe just a really great vacation you're excited about coming up later this year?
2025, usually my goal each new year is to just double in growth. Personally, business-wise, I
like that.
I don't know that I want to double in my family, but one of the great things is, like I said, I just had my first child.
Yeah, man.
31 years old. Probably came at the best time possible. Just want to shout out my wife for that whole experience and being a wonderful mom. But for 2025, I just want to serve more people. Honestly, I like it. That's the best answer I can give you. Serve more people, grow more in my faith, and help others find it for themselves.
Amen. Don't forget to enjoy being dad.
Yeah.
For sure.
I love honestly, I can say I love everything I do. I have the ability to kind of choose how my day goes, day in and day out. I mean, some appointments you can't avoid, but for the most part, I work on the things I feel like working on, and I'm not a slave to any conditions necessarily.
Which is great. Yeah. And that's a powerful place to be. And of course, that's how the Vantage Mindset can potentially help you as well. Yeah. Get you to a good place to where you want to be and have that flexibility and freedom.
Yeah. Teach you how to let your money work for you versus you working for your money.
Yeah. I love it, man. Now, of course, I jokingly call Omaha we are just so spoiled. Since I've moved here to now, I'm like, there is so much happening in this town. There's so many restaurants. There's so many cool places to go check out. So I ask people, what do you consider your Mount Rushmore if I'm a guy coming in from out of town and I'm listening to today's episode?
Yeah. Ooh. I have to, okay. I got it. We're talking food?
Talking whatever you want to point me to in Omaha.
In Omaha.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, definitely the zoo. The zoo got to go up there.
Of course.
For food, I got two favorite places for Mexican restaurant. Copal, which is right around the corner, and then another one, Hacienda Real.
Oh, okay. I haven't had Hacienda yet.
48th and Dodge area.
Yeah, I actually don't live too far from there. I haven't tried it yet.
And I'm huge on pizza. And I go and try pizza in every place I visit. And there's a place called Grace Pizza that just opened up in Papillion.
I've heard about that, yeah.
It is absolutely amazing pizza.
Definitely on my radar now because I'm a pizza fanatic, I swear.
And then, honestly, one of my personal favorite places to go to, especially if I just want to get more in tune with my spirituality and more balanced, I'd say is the Lord's Garden. I absolutely love that place.
Beautiful place.
You can go out and sit in nature, which is one of my favorite things to do, but they got enough trails out there to walk around and spend some time to regroup, regather, and do whatever you need to.
Man, that's a really good. I don't think anybody's actually said the Lord's Garden yet.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, that is such a beautiful area. And then this summer, if you're looking for a place to get away with you and your new family here, I always recommend the Calamus Lake. That's the Santos where I'm from. If you want to talk about getting away from everything.
Yeah, nice.
I always tell people, if you go camping there, drive about an hour away, so you're in between Taylor or Burwell. You can head either direction kind of thing. Just drive an hour away from, or not an hour, but about 5-10 minutes away from the lake, because you'll get away from the streetlights and all the little lampposts around there. There is nothing more stunning than the Sandhills stars. At night. There's no light pollution out there virtually because there's nobody out there. So if you ever need a good, clear, very cool place, that is something I always recommend to people.
For sure.
Now, here in Omaha, again, since there is so much, I like to wrap up the show with this question. What's something here in Omaha that you wish either people knew more about or they supported more? And again, because I just always go back to the fact of, like, I think of the podcast today, I'm like, how many nonprofits I've met, how many amazing businesses I've met. We have so much here. But honestly, I'm always curious to get a perspective.
I don't know that I have any specific place that I can think of or person. Just spend your time trying to find people who are also trying to find others to help.
I like that.
Ultimately, just like groups. There's a lot of networking groups, and sometimes it's just bringing people together. I know that there's people who have little groups who are newer residents to Omaha and just want to bring people together. And so I don't know. I guess it just depends on your passion. Just follow the things that you think bring you joy. There's so much of it throughout Omaha. If you're looking for it, it's going to be there.
I think that's actually one of the best answers we've had. Just to be genuine, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I really want you to support this. You should support this, which is great, and we should. But to support yourself to finding what you want to find, that's a unique answer. I'll give you a lot of credit on that.
I usually wake up every day and pray to God and say, God, guide me to those who need me today, that can listen to me and get something from me, or I can give a helping hand to. So.
We'll have to send a little thank you his way for joining on the show today, because, man, pleasure to have you a part of the show. We had met at the Omaha Power Breakfast, and I had gotten just a good energy from you then, and I know I was sitting next to Blake Martin, who, of course, his ears perked right up when you're like, I'm a serial franchisor, serial entrepreneur, not a serial franchiser. Jeez. He's the serial franchisor kind of guy, but he actually helps those kind of guys. He's like the Match.com for all his franchises, but wonderful guy. Him and I he was just on the show prior to this, and him and I were actually talking to you about you a little bit right in the beginning. We were like, oh yeah, I completely forgot. So expect an email with us on there. And Blake, if you're listening, thanks for coming on the show. Yeah. Always like to have a little fun with Blake. Sure. That wraps up my questions here, Rudy. Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners off with before we say a final goodbye?
No, just never give up on your dream. Every day you wake up, it's another opportunity to keep working on yourself. So
I love it, man. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. That's what Rudy's here to help you with, man. Yeah. Get that Vantage mindset. Maybe you need some commercial cleaning services. Check out Sanitize 360. Maybe you're in a little bit of pain and you could use some cryotherapy relief. Well, that's the CryoVantage recovery for you. And the man behind it all, Rudy Perez. Rudy, thanks again for coming on the show today.
Thank you again, once again, for everything. It's been amazing.
Oh, it's likewise. And of course, listeners at home, thank you for joining today's program. We will always have more coming up next time right here on the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast.